Yes. Maseches Bava Metzia Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis. We saw in the Mishnah in the previous Amud, the Mishnah told us that if a person finds all kinds of shtoros in the street, including a get, a woman's get, a woman's divorce document, la aleinu, so then what do? You do not return it. Why don't you return it? Because we're concerned maybe the husband wrote it because he was not so happy with her, or maybe she wasn't so happy with him, and then he never gave it to her. If the get was never given to her and it was always in his pocket and it fell from him, yeah, which is either what he claims or he's just not around, so we don't know his version of the story. Then even if she says, give me the get, we don't give her the get because we suspect she wants to get divorced illegally, lo aleinu, and she's really an Ashish, and that's going to be a terrible thing. However, Rabbah was medayek. Rabbah derived from the Mishnah. The word diuk, I would say, is to derive from. It derived from Mishnah. Wait a minute. What happens if it's all hunky-dory? They both want to be divorced. So hunky-dory, so lovey-dovey. We hate each other. And he says, yes, that get really fell from her. And what do we say? Yeah. So we say, give it to her. Yeah, very nice. In other words, you found the get in the street. You don't know 100% that this guy, right, is really the guy who's written in the get. And yet, in other words, Rabbi asks the question. Our Mishnah seems not to be worried about anything. And even if I picked up a get in the street, if both him and her say, yes, we are divorced, and it fell from the pocket of the woman, logically so, because she wants to keep the get to prove other people that she's single and free and available, and she has personality and depth, and now she wants to remarry, right? And now what? We say, give it to her. Wait a second. Rabbi said, a contradiction from another Mishnah in Gittin that said, no, if you found a get after a long time, meaning you found it in Elul Tafshin Pei Beis, which is now, and the get is written from a month ago, don't give it back so quickly. Keep it to yourself. Don't give it to anybody. Why? Because we're concerned maybe that get that fell here in the street is a get that does not belong to the husband. The husband is not a liar, and maybe not even the woman. Happens to be that in the get it says that Yosef ben Shimon divorced Shprinza Bey Labas Shlumiel, and what? And really happens to be there's another Shprinza Bey Labas Shlumiel and another, in the same city of Beitar. So then, are we concerned? Aren't we concerned? The Mishnah gave an easy answer. It's a steer between the Mishnahs. I want to stress already now to prepare you for the next upcoming thing. The Mishnah, our Mishnah never said outright that it's okay to give the get. Rabbah derived it from our Mishnah. The Mishnah said, don't give back the get if the husband says no, or if we're not sure what the husband says, he happened to be on a long vacation in the St. Lucia. But if the husband says yes and she says yes, we're medayek. We derive from there that there's no problem. Who knows? Says Rabbah, there's another Mishnah in Gittin, it's a Mishnah against Mishnah. It's two Titanics clashing together. The other Mishnah said, we are concerned maybe this get was written by a completely different person who happens to share the same name. Answered Rabbah, very easy. Answered Rabbah with our garnishing Rabbah, the Gemara. Rabbah says as follows, depends what the situation was. If you found the get in Tachana Merkazit, if you found the get in the house of the Beis Din, where there are a lot of Gittin, a lot of people, then we are concerned that the get that you found is not really the get that this person lost. The person on the phone, or even if you see him face to face, he sees the get. And by the way, Baruch, there is no signature of the man on the get. I checked it. I saw a nusach of a get in Achlas Shiva. A man does not sign on his own get. It's the Eidim who sign. Okay, so let's say the Eidim are not around. Eidim is a different question we'll discuss later. Let's say the Eidim are not around, the Eidim are not available, the Eidim are not part of the story. The husband says, yes, it fell from me. Okay, we don't know if you are the real you. Maybe it's a different Yosef ben Shimon who also divorced his wife. You know how many Yosef ben Shimon are in New York City? Many. So now we say like this. If the person found it in a place which is busy, then we say, could be, by the time you lost it, and then later on you found it, or just found it in a place that's busy, and the date shows that it fell from whoever long time ago. What's long time ago? Enough time for another caravan of people, another group of people, another busload of people to come, and maybe it fell from them. Thus it says they unloaded, they unpacked their food to start eating there in the restaurant in the Tachna Merkazit, was sitting for a long time by the Godel. So then we say, hey, maybe it fell from somebody else. Plus, says Rabbah, we derive from Rabbah. Also, if we know We're only concerned if we actually know that there are two men married to two women of the same name in the same city. Only if we have those 2 points, then Rabbi said we're concerned, we say, don't give it back. And that's the Mishnah in Gittin. Our Mishnah that didn't say that we derive from our Mishnah, you can give it back. Our Mishnah talks about a case in which either it was not found in a public place, it was found in some Lochenplatz, some corner when people barely go. Very unlikely that another person punked the same kind of get fell, or it was a public place, but we don't know that there are two people with the same name. So Stambi a super fruma and Stambi choishesh. Yeah, so what if it's a public place? As far as I know, I checked, the phone book and the internet, as much as I could see, there's only one Yosef ben Shimon married to Prince Abel Bashul Mil in the entire Beitar or the entire New York. I don't have to be choishesh. Maybe there's a newcomer, maybe there's somebody. Ad kedekach, no. Only if A, it's a public place where another get could have been lost and found by other shluchim, another messenger of a get. B, we know that there's another couple with the same name. Then and only then, says Rabbah, in that case, hold it, and that's the Mishnah in Gittin. They will tell you, don't give it back to the woman. Don't continue and give it to the woman because maybe there's a concern. That's up until now. There was our Mishnah versus another Mishnah with Rabbah reconciling both. That's only the introduction and actually the summary of where we're holding up until now. Says the Gemara, Ovad Rabbah Uvda. Rabbah acted upon his own halacha. Rabbah himself once paskined, he once actually ruled according to his own ruling, and the story is as follows. We skip the round parentheses, as we always do, the round, Beikitna de pumpedisa tishmaite. What does that mean? Beikitna, we know that there was a flax house. What does flax house mean? That's exactly what we're going to see. We heard a rumor, we know there was such a case. There was a case of a flax house. A get of a woman was found in a place to do with selling or producing flax in the city of Pumbedisa. Kishmaite, what does it mean Kishmaite? The get got lost. And what? And Rabbah says, yes, you can go ahead and give it to the woman. And that followed his own ruling. Now, we don't know exactly what the story was. There are two versions to the story, and those two versions we're going to see, and then everything will really be perfect in Mitzvah Hashem. Ikadamri, some say, you know where the get was found? When cotton or flax, two opinions, is sold. It's a marketplace for anybody who's interested in flax. Are there lots of people in marketplace? Yes. So it's a busy place. If it's a busy place, why did Rabbah say that the get that was lost there can actually go forward and be given to the woman? Yeah, maybe it's another person that wrote the get, maybe giving it to the wrong woman, and that's terrible. Because that get is written by Yosef ben Shimon to Shprintzabel Bas Shlumiel, but we do not know there are two Yosefs, two princes in the same city, right? Mimela, if we only have one concerned out of two according to Rabbah, then we say green light, go ahead, right? Rabbah only gives you the red light, don't return it if you have both reasons to be choshesh, two concerns. Continues the Gemara. Even though there are many caravans, many groups of people who go to the market, and yes, maybe it fell not from you, mitzad statistically, other people can lost gittim there because they're also messengers from the husband to the wife to give a get. However, since the name is Yosef ben Shimon, who is Megaresh, Prince Bat Tochter from Beitar, and we don't know of another couple, Mimela, only one box is ticked out of two, then we say go ahead and do it. We're not concerned. Rabbi is Mako. Rabbi is being easy. Some say the opposite. You know where it was found? You know what it means? The house of flax? Where they soak the cotton or where they soak the flax. The flax, it comes in stalks of flowers, and you have to cut it and then soak it, and it stinks to high heaven. And then those places, people are not there. It's a factory. How many people are inside the factory? Nobody, just the workers. So then, the afal gav de huchzeku, over there, because it's not a busy place, so out of the two concerns, one of them is off. It's not a busy place. It's a quiet place. It's a quiet corner. So even though we know that Yosef ben Shimon Prince Abela there are two Yosef ben Shimon married to two Prince Abela Bas Shlumiel Huchzeku, they are known to be living in the same place in Givat Sharetz or wherever. Because there aren't many caravans, aren't many people going there, it's just the opposite case. Yeah. In other words, there are two versions exactly what the case was, but everybody agrees that according to Rabbah, if you only have one concern out of two, then you do go ahead and you do give the get, and you don't say stop it, you continue and you give it to the wife. That is Rabbah's opinion, and we'll see it soon written on the whiteboard. That's Rabbah. Okay, Rabbi Zera. Yeah, okay. It was quiet for too long. Yeah, I meant in general, not you. Yeah, I'm with you, Rabbi. Rabbi Zera asked a similar question to Rabbah, but different. Similar, yet not identical. And here we have to play, yeah, find the differences, spot the differences. Rabbi Zera Rami Masnisin Abraisa. Rabbi Zera asked from the Mishnah in Gittin to a Braisa, Umeshani, and he answers. Now the Gemara will outline the question. Listen to Rabbi Zera's question, similar to Rabbah. Tnan. It says in the Mishnah, the same Mishnah we saw in Gittin, the Rabbah was quoting. Amevi get the Ovad Himenu. A person brings the get. He's on his way from where? LA to London, and he made a stopover. Let's say, I assume there are direct flights. I don't know, Baruch Hashem. But he made a stopover in New York. Makes sense. It's on the way. And you know, JFK, I think, is a busy airport, right? I think he's not the only one there from some odd reason. So he lost it in the airport. Another from Eden, whole story. Oy vavoy. Metzia, oh, I found it. Found the get. Oh, Metzia le'altar kosher. If you found it right away, what's right away? Not enough time for other people to come. Maybe he's in a quiet corner in JFK, and all of a sudden, and nobody yet came to that. That could happen. The next flight didn't yet come. He's the first one in the gate. He lost it, and then found it while nobody else was yet there. Not another group of Frum Yidden came. So then the get is kosher, because we assume it's the same get. What you lost is what you found. The same Shlomiel Ben Tzurishadai, the same Yosef Ben Shim from LA, was Magash Prince Abela from London. Yeah, the same guy, Baruch Hashem. V'im lav, whatever, v'im la, I assume so. V'im lav, posul. But if it took him some time, let's say the other people who've been through the gate, it was a long stay in the airport, and other people already managed to possibly come in, then posul. Maybe the get you lost is actually not. You found it 5 hours later. There have been 4 different groups of passengers there. Maybe it fell from somebody else, so it's possible. That's exactly what we said previously. That's a Mishnah in Gittin that is concerned. Don't give it back. We're not saying what the conditions are, but Bigadol already clued you in. But Bigadol, that's what happens here. Don't give back the get. Who don't you give it to? Not the husband. Just stay there. Maybe it's not the same get. Give it to Bezin. You have to restart the whole process, possibly in LA. Meaning, now he's challenging the Mishnah from a Braisa. Says in the Braisa as follows: Matzah get isha bashuk. Now we're not talking about a shliach. The guy is not a shliach. He's not even a chabadnik. Matzah get isha bashuk. He found a get of a woman in the market. Walks down the street and he finds a get of a woman. Then he's trying to do the due diligence to find out what's going on over here. His man shabal moide. The woman, he calls the woman. I'm not saying halacha l'maisa, by the way. If a phone call is enough, you need face to face. Generally speaking, yeah, the woman says yes. I'm a gurish. It fell from me. And the husband says, Moida. The husband agrees and says, yes. She's divorced from me. Then yachzir la'isha. Then you give it to the woman. If you think that's simple, by the way, it's not simple at all. There's a big chiddush over here, which we'll see later. Leave it for now. I don't want to, mess you up now. Basically, if both husband and wife hate each other equally and agree, stop joking. They both agreed that the get was given to her. Then give it to the woman. It fell from her, as they both agree. That's not London to LA. That's both in the same city. They both say, yes, it fell from her. All very nice. And there's a chiddush there. Give it to the woman. All very nice. Ain't a Baal Moide. Let's say she says, yes, it's my get. It fell from me. And the husband said, no, you're not divorced. And it fell from me because I never yet gave it to you. Oh. Somebody is lying, big lie. And then, don't give it neither to him, not to her. I want to explain something over here. That lady is now being choshud, being suspected of being a very, very, very naughty girl. The Chavrus and I spent some time over it. In other words, we're concerned that she's lying, and she basically wants to get an easy way out of the husband, which she doesn't love. He wrote her a get already. They're not exactly on the rocks yet. So then what happens? She says, yes, it's mine, meaning she wants to be kilo divorced, even though she's not really divorced, and remarry her friends, maybe somebody. Yeah, and he says, no, it's mine. Maybe she's lying, maybe not. Maybe he's lying. Maybe he gave it to her and he's playing games with her to cause her to be an aguna. Very terrible story. Yeah. In other words, he gave her the get, and now he says, no, it's mine, to keep playing games with her. So now don't give it back to any of them. Why don't you give it to any of them? To her, of course, you don't give because maybe she's lying. Now to him, don't give because listen to this. Even if you gave her the get and she's Megurash, he wants to get the get as remember why a husband may want to have his wife's get after the divorce, not even to be me'agen, as a receipt for the ksuba. Maybe didn't pay her the ksuba, right? Maybe it's a place where they don't write ksuba and the get is the ksuba and he wants to get the get back. Don't give it to anybody. When both children say no, 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 it's too risky. I want to explain something over here based on Tosis and based on Mechavrusa, who quotes every time Rosh Hashanah. When you see, let's not get this wrong. When you see a nice kosher-looking Yiddish lady, a woman walking down Revivim with a tichel in her head, you don't assume chas v'shalom that she wants to be mezaneh, chalila. This woman is different. If she is against the husband, yeah. In fact, the Gemara Gittin says usually a woman is neman to say to the husband, "You divorce me." The woman is believed, and isha me'ize panea. We don't say one be so zoino and so mechutzaf, so audacious to tell the husband, "You divorce me," if she's not really divorced. But here she has the get on her side. Since the get fell, and we know that she's 50% lying, maybe she's lying. Maybe it's not the husband. Is not always the liar. There's some lie over here in the air. Plus, she has the get on her side as its potential raya. Then a woman loses her cheskes kashrus, and she may be a liar, and you don't give it to her, right? It does not reflect on some other Yiddish women, chas v'shalom. It's in this case. There's a lot of questions here. A get that fell, we saw long ago, is fishy fishy. A husband says, I'm your husband, and she says, no, somebody is lying. In that case, we can't play Sarah Schneer and says, she's a Yiddish she's a tzedekes. No, she may not be a tzedekes, face it. And therefore, what do we say? Don't give that back the get to anybody. But in any event, yeah, the first case, if they both agree that it fell from her, give it back to her. And you want to ask, what's the chiddush? Oh, I'll show you what's the chiddush. I read your mind. You know that I'm a mind reader. And soon you'll see a whopping chiddush over here about if both sides agree. It's really not so pashut. Jeff was before you. I'm sorry. These Americans are always ahead of what can I do? Yeah, Viter. Yes. Yeah, I'm online. You know. Yeah. You give it to the Beis Din to sort out. Very nice. And if he wants to get divorced and she wants, let the right to new one. Or Beis Din will make further inquiries. Very good. I know I still owe you an answer. There'll be no. I didn't forget. Yes. Is it to the Nakuda or a further? Okay. I'm listening. Tani Miyas, everything will unfold. Everything will be beautiful. You're going to see soon Mashiach coming. Tani Miyas, we see one thing from this story. Bizman Shabal Moide, we see from the Brisa, when the husband admits to the wife, yes, you are divorced, it fell from you. Yachzir la isha, you give it to who? To the woman. Va'afilu lizman merube. Oh. Afilu lizman merube meaning what? Even though I found in the Tahana Merkazit in Elul Tafshin Pei Beis, and the date is Elul Tafshin Pei Aleph. You know how many people have been to Tahana Merkazit in the Shlam entire year, or a month, or a day? Many. And yet, seemingly, the Mishnah or Brisa don't make that difference, and they say, yeah, give it back. If both sides agree, so nice. How can you say that? We saw originally that we saw in the Mishnah that la'alto kosher im lav posul, right? As you just pointed out, the Mishnah said, if you don't find it right away, meaning if the get was not lost and found very close in time, the losing and finding, we're concerned another get fell that happens to be the same name. The same names. There could be more than two people with the same name in the same city. So how do you manage that? Well, Meshani, it's steer between the Brisa and the Mishnah. By the way, Rabba asks between the Mishnah and the Mishnah, and Rabbi Zera asks between the Mishnah and the Brisa. Umeshani answers Rabbi Zera, kan b'mokum shasheros mitzuyos, v'kan b'mokum shenasheros mitzuyos. Sometimes my examples are not so accurate. Now it was. When it's Tachana Merkazit or JFK or Chaim Kanevsky's house, it's Avdil, when there's lots of people Mitzuyim with Gittin, with stories, with traveling, and people travel with Gittin, LA to London and London to wherever, then what? Then we say, be concerned. Be concerned, don't give it back. Even if he says yes and she says yes, we say no. Could be they're both big tzaddikim and they think it's the same name, and it is the same name. However, they swore they are those people. Maybe there's another person in town, in the same town, that happened to lose the same get. Why? Because in a very busy place. In a very busy place where lots of shayoras come, you lost it, and 10 hours later, you know how many people have been to the airport since? Millions. It's literally a million in some airports in Heathrow, right? And therefore what? And therefore maybe it's not the same get. Hey, watch it and give it to Beis Din. Don't touch it. Ikadamri, and then so then that's a determined factor. Now that's what Rabbi Zera said. I said maybe there are two people with the same names in the same town, but we didn't yet see it in Rabbi Zera. All Rabbi Zera said so far was the difference is if it's a busy place and maybe it's all from a different shliach, don't give it back. But if it's not in a busy place, it's in a quiet place. I found it in some little garden. Nobody goes there behind the pach. Nobody goes there, and I lost it there and found it there. Yeah, then, or it's an early date, long time has passed, no problem. We assume it was there for a long time, and it's the same thing, same get, and you can go on and give it to her. By the way, I want to point out something. I don't want to go into this Tosfos. If we have time later, it's a beautiful Tosfos, but basically you should know, and that's halacha, you don't return it to her. It's very misleading. You don't return it to her. You know why? Because now it fell. It was already in the street. So what you asked, Mr. Brown, there has to be continuous traveling from the husband in the hands of the shliach all the way to the wife. Now that some time passed, it's on the floor, we need a new minui shlichus. You have to go to the husband. I don't know if it works by phone or not. I don't think so. I'm not a poisek. The husband has to renominate the new shliach who's a finder and say, you are now my new shliach to now be megash my wife. And she'll be megash with that get. Okay? But we have to know that it's the same names and the same get. You can't use somebody else's get for that. Now, Ikadamri, what would Rabbi Zera say regarding the second chashash of knowing or not knowing that there are two people with the same names? Ikadamri, some people say in the opinion, some people explain Rabbi Zera as follows. Vehu shehuchzeku. You're only concerned in a busy place. How many boxes do you have to tick according to Rabbah? 2. It's a busy place. Vehu shehuchzeku. Only when I know that there are 2 Yosef and Shimon and 2 Shprinza but Shlumiel in the same LA, then I'll be concerned. But if I don't know that there are 2 of them in LA, I look through the phone book and the internet of the Jewish LA, I only see 1. So as far as I know, as far as we know, there isn't another couple, and maybe somebody just hailed on from Mexico. As far as we know, we don't have another couple like that. Then the loy nehadar. Only then, when you have A, it's a busy place, so it makes sense another get came. B, it makes sense another get will bear the same names because there are people with the same names in the same city. Only then I'll be concerned by the Rabbah. Some say Reb Zer and Rabbah are the same. They both require 2 points of chashash to really put the red light, put the brakes, and say, don't return, give it to Beis Din. Ikadamri, some say no. Some say Reb Zera is more maknir, and they say no. Even if you don't know, listen carefully to my wording, not that you know that there aren't. You don't know that there are 2 Yosef ben Shimon and 2 Prince Abbas Shlumiel in LA. As far as I can see, I don't know, but maybe. They're not muchzak, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe there's a young couple and they're not yet registered. Maybe they live in the outskirts of town, not in the Yiddish community. Maybe. Do we have to be concerned that much? Yes. According to the second opinion, if I lost the get in a busy place and all of a sudden 10 hours later, that's enough time for JFK travelers, for many other shares to come in, right? And unpack and do stuff. As long as it's a busy place, even if I don't know that in the place of origin there are 2 couples with the same thing, I still have to be concerned. According to this opinion, Reb Zer is more machmir, and even with 1 concern, he'll tick the box. Continues the Gemara, upliga de Rabbah, and he argues on Rabbah. He argues on Rabbah being one level more machmir, and he requires even with 1 point of concern, it's already bad enough to say, hey, mister, red light, put the brakes, don't run to give it to her just because they both say, yes, it's me. Could be, again, if I found it, well, I'll do it in a minute. If I found it a minute later or before the new batch of people came, like a better word, the next group of people came, I lost and I found, and I was more or less alone in the lounge, in the room, Etc. No problem. Then both opinions agree it's fine. I lost and I found my own get, same name, same this. However, if there's only one point of concern, it's a busy place. Says Rabbi, don't give it back. Even if I don't know that there are two people with the same name. Rabba sticks to his guns, of course. Rabba says no. Rabba says the only concern is don't give back the get if it's both a busy place where you found and lost it, and also if you know that there are two people with the same name in the same town and both spouses share the same name. I'm sorry to tell, but Yosef was ready before. Yes, and yeah, it's actually a good place to ask quick questions. Now, Rabba, let's finish with Rabba and Reb Zera, then questions will come. Says the Gemara, Rabba lo melker Reb Zera. The question is as follows. Rabba and Reb Zera's question were similar but not identical. They came from different sources. And you know what? Let me actually say it now. I apologize for the Zoom people that the whiteboard is not so clear, but hopefully you'll get it without it. Rabba's question, as I told you before, came from his diuk, from what he derived from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, don't return a get, maybe regretted. Yeah? How many T's? Two or one? Regretted. Regretted? One T? Two T's. Maybe regretted. Okay. I feel so good when English don't know how to spell, just like I don't. Wow, that's great. I mean, there's a discussion. Okay, don't return. Maybe he regretted. Yeah, maybe he regretted the thing. Says Rabbah. Otherwise, if there's no concern or regretted, and he says, yes, it's hers, then you do return, right? That was Rabbah. You do return even after a long time, even though a long time passed. Stira, that's a contradiction. The arrows are a contradiction. The Mishnah in Gittin says, don't return after time passed. Stira, right? From what he derived from the Mishnah, there's a stira to the Mishnah in Gittin. Now, Bizera is asking from the same Mishnah in Gittin to a Brisa. The Brisa says the Brisa, that you do return. Okay? Do return. Okay? And that's the question. Here's the stira. Here, the Mishnah says, don't return. And the Brisa says, do return. Okay? That's it. In other words, Rabbah asks from a diuk, a way he understood the Mishnah, on another Mishnah in Gittin. Reb Zera asked from a Mishnah in Gittin to a Brisa in Gittin. Now the question is, why did it choose different sources to ask from? Why did it choose this to ask? Let's go. Bishlam Rabba, Rabba, I understand. Bishlam, it's good, makes sense to me. Loy Omar ke Reb Zera. You know, Rabba didn't say like Reb Zera. You tell me. Quiz question. Let's see if you know your Gemara background. Woo-hoo. Yeah, you get a trip to LA if you know the answer. All right. And that is, which is a stronger source, Mishnah or Brisa? Yay, Mishnah. Says Rabba, Masnisin Alima Lakshui. Of course, I prefer asking from a Mishnah to a Mishnah rather than from Mishnah to a Brisa. A Brisa is second class to Mishnah. The Gemara says, very strong line. Who's the author of the Mishnah? It's Rabbi Danosi. The author of the Brisas was Rabbi and Rabbi Ishia, which was below, so to speak, Rabbi. The Gemara says, if Rabbi doesn't know, where would Rabbi Chia know? Rabbi was above Rabbi Chia, and therefore Mishnah is more than a Brisa, says Rabbi. A question of Mishnah to a Brisa, it's a no-brainer. A Mishnah, yeah, is stronger than a Brisa. That's why Rabbi preferred asking from a Mishnah to a Mishnah. That's arm wrestling. That's a big boy against a big boy. However, Rabbi Zera, my time why did Rabbi Zera choose to ask from Mishnah to Brisa when he could have asked from Mishnah to Mishnah? To be an ace against an ace. So I was going to ace against the queen. What's going on here? Why did Reb Zera go that way? Omar Lecha. Now the answer is you need to hold cop here. You need to listen carefully. It's not difficult if you listen. Omar Lecha. Mi katani ha'omar tnu noisnin le'afilu zman meruba? Did the original Mishnah that Rabbi asked for, did the Mishnah itself actually said that if the husband said, give, then you give, even if you found it after a long time? You're calling Mr. Husband, you assume his husband. Mister, is this your get? I can see your phone number. I don't know what. Yeah. So he says, yes, even Lizman Merube, even if the get is a year old, you can give it. The Mishnah never said that. You derived from the Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? Not to give. The Mishnah says, in case that the husband is not, sorry, I didn't mean to cross it over. The Mishnah that says don't give it, the husband is not around, he's on a long vacation, or I don't know what's with him, or he says no. then don't give it. Rabba built upon the Mishnah and derived from the Mishnah and said, Mashma, that if the husband would say, yes, yes, give, I would give even if it's man merube, even if the get is old, but the Mishnah never said it outright. Dilma continues Rabba to attack Rabba, continues Rabbi Zera to attack Rabba. Maybe Ha'omar Tnuno Isnin. Yes, it's true that the husband says your duke is right. If the husband says give, you give, but only if the get is recent. I lost it, or I see in the get that it was lost today. There was written for today, and I came today, 10 o'clock in the morning. How much time could have passed already? And a chinami, meaning your duke is an assumption. Rabba, you're building assumptions that are not written, says Rab Zera to Rabba, right? Because the Mishnah never said, if the husband says yes, then give it yes at all costs, even if it's an old get with a long lapse of time passing. You, Rabba, assume that you're building this castle at top of your own duke, says Rab Zera. That's why I don't like your question. Lemanda Oma, wait. However, now comes the big question. Okay. Now Rashi is asking a question. What about Reb Zera? Excuse me, Reb Zera. I would ask exactly, that's not in the Gemara. That's me speaking on behalf of Rashi. That's an automatic question we should all think. Why is Reb Zera on the high pedestal? Excuse me, Reb Zera? Zera. What did it say in the Brisa? Do return. Did the Brisa say to return it even after a long time? No. The Brisa never say return it after a long time. So the same thing, you can start there. You're assuming things. Do return it only if it's a short time, like only if it was lost the same hour. But if you find an old get from 2 days ago, then I don't. It doesn't say it here either. Explains Rashi as follows. I'll give you a mashal. Baruch Hashem, I thought of a mashal, and that I hope will help you understand. Let's say you're talking to a newcomer to Judaism, and he really doesn't know anything about Judaism. He thinks that the biggest mitzvah, the only mitzvah in the world, is to plant a tree by the Takal, by the UJF. How is it called? Yeah, that's the only mitzvah here at the bottom. What? United Jewish Fund. Yeah, I know them. That's a big mitzvah. He doesn't know about kosher food. So he wants to ask you about kosher food, and you tell him, and he asks you, can I eat pork? Can I eat lamb? Can I eat chazir? And you tell him, don't eat chazir. Chazir you don't eat. And then he derives from that, the lamb and chicken he may eat. Okay? Did you tell him to eat without shchita? No, you just didn't talk about the subject of shchita yet. You only spoke about the animals, right? He can be midaik all kinds of things from that, but you only told him not to eat chazir, and he derives, so I can eat lamb. He didn't speak about the lamb practically. Another guy tells him, yeah, you know what? You for sure can eat lamb. Go ahead. You have lamb in your countryside place? Yeah, go ahead and eat it. It's much worse. If you told him, yes, eat it, you should have told him, shchita, melicha, nikur, excuse the order, and everything else. That's the difference with Rabbi and Reb Zera. According to Reb Zera, and Reb Zera is now on the higher side, on the higher horse, Reb Zera says, listen, if the Brisa says, do return the get, yeah, that is to say, return it, and if we didn't make any difference, like I said, by shchita, we didn't differentiate between an old get and a new get, that is to say, even an old get may be returned. That's a walking question. That's a question. Because the Brisa says, do return lamaisa. How can the Brisa miss such a vital thing in Eshet Fishel Chmana Litzlan and not tell me that only return it with the condition that it's newly found? Yeah, I would make a terrible mistake. That's a question, and there's an answer. He found it in a quiet place. You, Rabba? No, that's not a question. But you, the Mishnah says, don't return if the husband doesn't agree. But now, we derive do return, and in the do return, you assume at top of the deal, do return it even when it's an old get. That's not. To build an exception at top of the deal, that's too much. It's like saying, oh, you're machshil about tshuva. You told him not to eat chazir, so now he's going to eat lamb without shchita. Ma pitom. I didn't talk about lamb. He derived it. I told him, don't eat chazir, don't eat chazir, because now we're talking about species. I don't talk about the details, the inside details of the lamb, just like over here. We didn't go into the details of what yes to do in case the Baal says yes. But the Brisa, according to Reb Zera, that says do return, they say when the husband agrees, Mamish is telling you Allah Lamaisa, return it. How can we say do return without what? Without giving me any limitations, only if it's a new get and not an old get. That's where Reb Zera here is attacking Rabba. And Rabbi Zera And Lamaisa, at the end of the day, though, at the end of the day, they both asked a similar question and a similar answer. What's a similar answer? Rabbi said that our cases, I'm only concerned when found it in a busy place after a long time, and there are two people with the same name. Now, Rabbi Zera may have said differently, more machmir. What? Rabbi Zera is more machmir, and he says, no, I'm only machmir when I'm already machmir when there's one chashash, a busy place, even if I don't know there are two people with the same name. According to Rabbi Zera, according to the one who says, according to Zera, when it's a busy place, busy street, busy airport, the Afalgav Shaloch Zukushnesov Ben Shimon, right, is Machmir. It says, don't give the get, even if I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not surely aware that there are two Yosef Ben Shimons in the same city. Upliga de Rabba, he argues in Rabba, what's the source of the Machlokes? Why is it the Rabba's be more makel, and only when you have two bad points of concern, he says, put the brakes, and Rabbi Zer says only one. What's the reason? The Gemara says a very simple thing without much lomdus. Rabbi Sova, they argue on how to learn one line in the Mishnah. The Ktani, Rabbi thinks as follows. It says in the Mishnah later on, Kol Maisa Bezdin Areze Yachzir. Whatever is Maisa, what's a Maisa Bezdin? It's a get or a star choiv, a star, whatever you want, star, my grandma flying to outer space. Any star that has the hechsher of Bezdin, that has a seriousness in knowing that something real took place, then you return it to whoever needs to get it, such as the woman. Says Rabba, the ishtakach bebezdin askinan. Rabba learned something very interesting that the Ritva points out is a question. Maisa Bezdin means not only it was written by Bezdin, it was found in Bezdin. A star found in Bezdin, you may return. Bezdin, right? You see what? A Bezdin is a place where many people are. And in fact, that is the place to find a lost get. Where do you find lost sweaters of children more? In the bank or in the cheder? I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, that's where the Gittim are. That's where the stuff is. So in the place for Shorsh Mutus, you still, says the Mishnah, you give it back, the way Rabbi is learning. Well, obviously, there are certain cases you can't give back. When is that? If there are people that are muchzak, and we know that there are two people, the same name, same Shimon ben Yosef, and same woman, then don't give back. When did the Mishnah say that a star in Beis Din can be returned? It's a busy place. Must be there's one case at least where a busy place star can be given back. When is that? When I look up the Beitar phone book or the LA phone book, I look online, here, there, I don't see another couple with the same name. Go ahead and give it back. Because the Mishnah spoke in some case, I can give back in the busy place. Must be only when there's another concern atop it of same names, only then I don't return. Rabbi Zera, Omer Lecho, Rabbi Zera says, Ma pitam. Miktani kol maise bezin shenim tzu bebezdin. Who's talking about the location? Ma pitam. It says maise bezdin, that found in Bezdin. It didn't say it was found in Bezdin. Kol maise bezdin yachzir ktani. It says whichever get or any other star with the approval of the bedat stamp of Bezdin, even if it was found outside, and in fact, only if it was found outside Bezdin in a quiet corner, only then I'll give it back. But if it was found in a busy place, such as Bezdin or such as Tachana Merkazit or such as wherever you want, busy, then I don't return it ever. Because the Mishnah never said that. The Mishnah didn't speak about location. The Mishnah spoke about the type of star. That's how to learn it. Now we're going to talk about Sima Asun or Edim. You're going to be today with equal rights. One question of Yosef, one question of Ellen. Everyone's going to be happy. Abir Mia Omar. What about if you call the Edim and you located the Edim and you found the Edim and you stand in front of the Edim, says Tosfos, but you're being tricky with them. You don't show them the star. You see the Edim, whoever, Reuven ben Shimon Pechachovsky and Shimon ben Levi Yochana. Yeah, doesn't say the last names, let's say, but yeah. The Edim come, confronted by you, and you say, I found a get of Shlumiel ben Surishadai to Shprincabela bat Shlemazel from Beitar, yeah, and the Edim say, Lo'elam lo chasanu elal get echad shel Yosef ben Shimon. The Edim say, our entire lives, we only signed one get of Yosef ben Shimon. Then we know what? Obviously, there is no other, there could be many other Yosef ben Shimons in that town. but I don't care because they know that those Eidim only signed on one Yosef ben Shimon married to Prince Abbas Shlomiel. The Mela, once the Eidim signed, and they are the only ones with, and they didn't see the signature. Says Toysas, if they saw the signature, that's a lost game already. The whole word obviously is they didn't see their signature. I have a Yosef ben Shimon here, and they say we only signed on Yosef ben Shimon. Then we know that these are no other Eidim with those names signed on Yosef ben Shimon. Then what's the chiddush? Obviously, if we know these are the Eidim, let's say there's only one Eid. We know that's the Eid. So there's a way to know that that's the Eid. And he says, yes, I signed the Yosef ben Shimon's Prince of Bela, and I never signed on any other couple with the same name, 1,000,000%. The Eidim should be choshev to people. Like we know, the Eidim and the Chatzana are important people. They know what they're doing. They're Yerushalayim. The Eidim are believed. The Eidim are very believed. So Mimela, signature. The husband used them, I guess they know them. One second. What's the chiddush? It's too simple. Answers the Gemara. I already gave you the answer. I wasn't smart. Lechush, I would have said maybe be super, super careful. They didn't see the signature. Yeah. Maybe the other Eidim with the same name. In other words, I go to Reuven Ochana and to Shimon Shpachalovsky in Beitar, and they say, yes, it's us, to that Zehut. I don't know. I know. How do you know? Maybe there's another couple, another set of Eidim with the same names. Maybe there's another Shimon Achan and Shimon Shpachatovsky written in the same with the same husband and wife. Kamash Malan, that far we don't go. Also because of Igun. With their, as much as on one hand we're very machmir and gitim, there's a certain limit because otherwise it wouldn't be a guna. Because once the hand is the get is in based in his hands, then he'll play games. So once we know the Eidim say, yes, we are Shimon Ochana, yes, we are Shimon Pachachovsky, and we signed on Reuven ben Shimon, Yosef ben Shimon, Prince of Shlomiel, only one. We only signed on such one couple our entire lives for sure. We're not ad kidekach concerned. Maybe there are one couple, same couple, and maybe there are other Eidim and other ad kidekach. We're not cheshish other Eidim with the same name exactly, and another couple with the same name exactly in the same city. That good. So, but the Eidim are relied. Yes, Jeffrey, and then we continue. You can ask whatever you want. It's a free country. We're not yet in North Korea. Change. Of Ashi Omar, Simonim, Ellen's question. Rav Ashi says, now we're not aware here, and that's a big question. Are we talking with one chashash or two chashashas? Rav Ashi doesn't talk about problems, he talks about solutions. And that's halacha. Rav Ashi is quoted in Shulchan Aruch first. Let's say the husband, I checked that in halacha, or the wife, or the Eidim, are the ones who gave you a simon, and they said, look, mister, let's say they didn't yet see the get, you hide it behind your back, it's over the phone, and they say, whoever is the one who gives the authentic simon, the mark, the sign, whatever you call it, and it says, look, at the end of the letter, tzadik soifis in the second line, there is a whole, wow, that cannot be just any other get. In other words, we're trying to identify, is the lost get really belonging to that Yosef ben Shimon? And Yosef ben Shimon says, yes, I identify it as such. Or the woman can also, if the woman is the one who identified it and she says he gave it to me, it means she knows how it looks like. We assume it's hers. In other words, the one who gives the sign is the one, the simon is the one who gets it. Now there's a question how exactly works halacha, who gave the simon, but conceptually believe the simon, meaning a very specific mark saying there's a little hole. People can't just guess it. Let's go to the husband. If the husband is not the one who wrote the get, if it's a different Yosef ben Shimon married to a different prince Abbaslis, he wouldn't have known about the little hole at the end of the tzaddik in the second line. It's a simon muvhak. It's a super duper good simon. It's an excellent simon. Continues the Gemara, and we'll explain it more tomorrow. V'davke betzad ois ploinis. Only if they said there's a little hole at the corner by the side of a specific letter over there. Aval nekev be'alma loy. Let's say to give a second class siman. We're going to learn tomorrow about different levels of simanim. You call over the phone and says, there is a hole there in the get. A hole in the get is a siman. Not all gitim have holes in them, but it's not a very specific one. It's not very good. It's a hole in the get. Therefore, we don't return it. And we'll explain tomorrow again how that works. Thank you very much. And there are levels of simonim. And I'll bring the read to Shulchan Aruch tomorrow about this. And may we never need this halach l'maisa, but this is our beautiful sugya. Tomorrow, Mr. Brown, we'll talk about the relations between giving the get and then owing the money. Be'ezer Hashem. Thank you very much. Yes. Have a good day.